and the animals, the horses, trying to escape. The deadly school shooting tonight inside the school, the shooter's alleged hope of killing an entire class. We do have breaking news involving President Trump and one of his closest advisors, Hope Hicks. What the FBI reportedly warned her about the Russians. The officer who shoots and kills an unarmed man begging for his life. The jury's decision. Is there a serial shooter at work? 3 shootings on an American highway in the north. And we're on the front lines with the fire teams working through the night. The heroes who have not stopped. Our persons of the week.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and we begin tonight here with the raging wildfires, now 6 of them, and in the south and east tonight, a massive winter storm on the move right now. From Texas all the way up through the northeast, more than 70 million Americans will get hit with this tonight, right into the weekend. Snow falling on Georgia highways, a 20-car pileup in San Antonio. Drivers warned about black ice on the way home this evening. A FedEx truck overturning on an icy highway in Woodfin, North Carolina. And crews de-icing planes at Atlanta's Hartsfield Airport. Hundreds of flights delayed or canceled at this hour, and where the storm is headed next. ABC's Steve Osunsami leading us off.
This cold fist of winter weather stretches from Texas to Maine tonight, and nearly 70 million people will have to get through the freeze and ice this evening. In San Antonio, they're dealing with this 20-car pileup. Parts of Texas are seeing half a foot of snow, some places that haven't seen snow in 8 years. This picture here looks like it's from the Northeast, but it's actually Louisiana. Snow as far as the eye can see. Near Asheville, North Carolina, the deliveries from this FedEx truck might be coming a little late.
Stay off the road if you don't have to be, absolutely have to be, because the danger level begins to rise as the temperature starts to drop.
This was Buffalo, New York, where they're supposed to be used to this. A jackknife tractor trailer that's not going anywhere tonight.
It is snowing and it is sticking.
Authorities are closing slick roads in parts of northeast Alabama. And across Atlanta, they're calling it slush-pocalypse, with more than 700 flights canceled and more than 800 delayed at the international airport. And a line of planes like this one needing de-icing. Schools let out early here today. The city is nearly shut down and traffic came to a crawl. Thousands across the South are in the cold without power tonight. Nearly 30,000 at one point in Alabama alone.
So let's go live to Steve Osunsami tonight. He's in Atlanta. And Steve, you mentioned those cancellations, and this system is now going to march northward?
Yes, David. Our weather team tells me that all of this snow, ice, and sleet is heading in your direction towards the northeast from Philly to New York. The Mid-Atlantic is going to see this tomorrow and throughout the day tomorrow. Here in Atlanta, they're expecting another inch or 2 of snow. And this, of course, is happening to a city that has very few snow plows and snow trucks to clear it all away. David?
Be very careful on the roadways, everyone along the East Coast and in the South tonight. Steve, our thanks to you. And we are just back from California tonight, where thousands of firefighters are waging an all-out battle against 6 major wildfires at this hour. President Trump declaring a state of emergency. Fires burning from Ventura County now down to San Diego County. The Lilac Fire outside San Diego, more than 4,100 acres in size and still no containment at this hour. And the Thomas Fire, where we were last night, now destroying more than 400 homes and structures. Powerful Santa Ana winds fueling those fires at this hour. And ABC's Matt Gutman is in California.
Tonight, those California infernos unrelenting.
There it goes.
That 747 supertanker joining more than 8,000 firefighters on the ground. In San Diego County, the Lilac Fire, driven by winds gusting above 50 miles per hour Thursday, destroying dozens of structures.
We have crews surrounded this whole area. We're going to make a stand and we're going to protect all the ones that we can. Oh!
As the flames churned towards this 500-horse stable, workers scrambling to free hundreds of horses, their only hope of escaping the flames. You can see the horses stampeding. Some 24 did not survive. Many are still missing. Our Rob Marciano on the front lines as the fire spread overnight.
Look at this structure just completely going up in flames. The trees next to it starting to light and those embers being carried by this wind. You can see just how these spot fires can flare up.
The Thomas Fire in Ventura County, so explosive it looked like a volcano. We were on the ground.
And you can see how massive that plume of smoke is. This thing towers into the sky thousands of feet up.
Our station KABC in the air today above Ventura.
The fire just moved through here too quickly with too much in the way of high winds to save most of these homes.
Tonight, parts of the Thomas Fire burning close to the town of Ojai.
One of the things about fires like this is that it creates its own weather. This is incredible. You can actually see the fire sucking in the smoke right into those flames.
Firefighters helpless to stop it.
In some ways, fighting a fire like this is like fighting a hurricane. You know, there's not that much that humans can do to stop something this massive.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's real similar in that sense. Mother Nature's going to do her thing.
And Matt Gutman with us from Southern California again tonight. And Matt, you've been learning that they're actually going to take preemptive strikes in the next several hours to do fire lines several miles out.
That's right, David. Because this fire has been so relentless, firefighters no longer can hope to stop it at its source. So they're trying to cut perimeter lines to create a buffer as far as 10 miles out. And as the Ventura County Fire Chief told you less than 24 hours ago, firefighters like this could be here until Christmas. David.
Matt Gutman, our thanks to you. Incredible reporting all week long. And you saw Rob Marciano there on the front lines of the Lilac fire. He's been tracking these Santa Ana winds for days now. So let's get back to Rob with the track going into the weekend. Rob, good evening.
Good evening, David. Still some gusty winds at the higher terrain, but we're looking for a bit of a break. But long term, it's not good. Take a look. That pesky high still in control across the Intermountain West. That means we'll continue to be dry, no rain in forecast, and red flag warnings up with dangerously low levels of humidity. We're getting a break tonight with the wind into tomorrow, but beginning Sunday morning, we'll start to see the winds crank up again. So more warnings may be issued, and this is obviously not an ideal weather situation, David.
All right, Rob Marciano watching this all week long for us. Rob, our thanks to you as well. There are new developments and alarming new images coming in tonight in the deadly high school shooting in New Mexico. Authorities revealing new information about the gunman who killed 2 students, firing shots through the walls of the classroom as he was in the hallway. And tonight, the school custodian who ran through those halls shouting that there was an active shooter, giving students and teachers time to hide. ABC's Alex Perez in New Mexico.
Tonight, the horrifying moments as a shooter opens fire inside this New Mexico high school.
You guys sit down. We could hear casings hitting the floor.
The gunman, 21-year-old William Atchison, scheduled the attack, writing work at 6:20 a.m. and die at 8 a.m. Police say he slipped into the school with students, went to the bathroom, and pulled out a 9mm Glock.
We do have a possible suspect in the 800-900 building.
That's where he shot and killed Francisco Fernandez. Moments later, he gunned down Casey Marquez, Casey's best friend, distraught, FaceTiming with her mom.
But I know when I get home that Casey's not going to be there.
A custodian heard the shots and ran through the halls, warning everyone.
These people are true heroes.
Police arrived 1 minute after the first call for help. Atchison had already killed himself. He left behind a note hinting this could have been worse, writing he would hold a class hostage and go ape. Back in March of 2016, the FBI interviewed Atchison after he appeared to make a threat about a mass shooting online.
And David, officials say it's unclear when the school will reopen. Investigators now combing through a thumb drive and other electronic evidence the gunman left behind. David?
Alex Perez tonight. Alex, thank you. We move on now and to President Trump. And tonight, a breaking new headline involving one of his closest advisors, Hope Hicks. ABC News now confirming that White House Communications Director Hope Hicks spent the last 2 days meeting with special counsel Robert Mueller's team. And tonight, the New York Times first reporting that FBI officials warned Hicks about Russian operatives trying to contact her during the transition. Here's ABC's chief White House correspondent, Jonathan Karl.
Hope Hicks is one of the president's closest and longest-serving aides. Among the very first people to work on the Trump campaign, part of a small team that traveled with him wherever he went.
Hope, get up here, Hope. Hope, get up here. She's always on the phone talking to the reporters, trying to get the reporters to straighten out their dishonest stories.
Now the New York Times has reported the FBI warned Hicks earlier this year that Russian operatives had made repeated attempts to contact her during the presidential transition. There is no indication Hicks did anything wrong. FBI agents briefed her twice earlier this year in the White House Situation Room, warning that emails she received may have been part of a Russian intelligence operation. Hicks was questioned today and yesterday by special counsel Robert Mueller's team. She is a potentially key witness at the president's side during so many important moments throughout the campaign, the transition, and now at the White House.
John Carl with us live tonight from the White House. And John, Robert Mueller's team interviewing Hope Hicks now. This is clearly the president's inner circle we're now talking about.
Indeed, and Mueller's team has already talked to Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law. I expect he will interview him again before long, and likely Donald Trump Jr. as well. David?
John Carl on a Friday night. John, thank you. Now to Roy Moore and the Alabama Senate race. For weeks, the White House has been asked whether President Trump would travel to campaign for Roy Moore. The president wholeheartedly throwing his support behind Moore, saying, quote, "I like a fighter. Go get him, Roy." Tonight, the president is making an appearance not far from where Moore has been campaigning. And while he technically didn't travel to Alabama, he's right across the border in Florida, where many Alabama voters will no doubt see the president on their local news. Here's ABC's chief national correspondent Tom Llamas tonight.
Tonight, the president is heading to Florida, but Alabama is likely on his mind. Earlier, the president tweeting, "Vote Roy Moore," saying, "Last thing the Make America Great Again agenda needs is a liberal Democrat in the Senate." But tonight, Moore's own comments about that Make America Great Again message facing new scrutiny. At a rally in September, Moore described a time when he thought America was great, a time before the Civil War. The Los Angeles Times now releasing that audio.
I think it was great at a time when the families were united. Even though we had slavery, they cared for one another. People were strong in the families. Our families were strong. Our country had a direction, and we corrected many of the problems.
Moore went on to say slavery was one of those problems. His campaign telling me, of course the judge opposes slavery. This as 8 women accuse him of a range of inappropriate sexual behavior. 2 say he sexually assaulted them when they were teenagers. Beverly Young Nelson tells me Moore attacked her in his car when he was in his 30s and she was just 16.
He was trying to pull me toward in between his legs. It was terrible.
Moore denies all the accusations and denies even knowing Nelson. She says she has proof that Moore signed her high school yearbook, but the campaign says it's a forgery. Today, Nelson acknowledges she wrote the date, name of the restaurant, and letters DA next to Moore's signature. She says she did it to remind herself of who Roy Moore was and where and when Moore signed the yearbook.
But to be clear, Beverly, he signed your yearbook.
He did sign it.
And you made some notes underneath.
Yes.
She says she stands by her story 100%.
Tom Llamas with us again tonight. And Tom, Alabama voters now head to the polls on Tuesday.
That's right, David, and millions of dollars are pouring in for both sides, both in-state and out-of-state. Doug Jones, the Democrat, campaigning hard across the state. Roy Moore banking on that support from the president. David?
All right, Tom Llamas will be anchoring this newscast here tomorrow night. Thank you, Tom. Next this evening, the growing crisis on Capitol Hill over claims of sexual misconduct. 3 members of Congress now resigning in just 3 days. One of them, a Republican congressman who was accused of asking 2 staff members to carry his baby. ABC's Mary Bruce on the Hill.
As bizarre allegations of misconduct emerge, tonight Congressman Trent Franks is abruptly resigning. The Arizona Republican is accused of asking 2 members of his staff to carry his child. One woman reportedly tells the Associated Press Franks offered her $5 million to act as a surrogate. The congressman doesn't admit that directly, but says, "I deeply regret that the topic of surrogacy was discussed in the office and that it caused distress." Franks, a staunch social conservative.
It is a test of our basic humanity and who we are as a human family.
Is now bowing to pressure from House Speaker Paul Ryan, who urged him to quit after learning of credible claims of misconduct. He is now the 3rd member of Congress to resign just this week over allegations of sexual misconduct or harassment.
This really is a watershed moment for our country.
And Mary, tonight, another Republican congressman now under scrutiny.
David, the Ethics Committee is also looking at Texas Congressman Blake Farenthold over allegations he sexually harassed a former aide. He denies the allegations, but has also agreed to pay back taxpayers for the $84,000 settlement that staffer received. David?
Mary Bruce on the Hill. And the new headline about the American economy tonight, and certainly one the president will welcome. U.S. employers adding 228,000 jobs in November. That is more than expected. The unemployment rate holding now at 4.1%. That is a 17-year low. There is still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Friday. The verdict and the new video tonight. The officer who shot and killed an unarmed man begging for his life. The jury's decision and video of that moment. Also, authorities asking, is there a serial shooter at work? Authorities investigating 3 shootings on the same highway in the north. And the train derailment causing evacuations and halting commuters here in the Northeast tonight. To the verdict in a case involving a police officer charged in a deadly shooting in Arizona, an unarmed man begging not to be shot. Newly released body cam video showing the moment. And here's ABC's Lindsay Davis.
Newly released body cam video capturing what Daniel Shaver's family calls an execution.
If you make a mistake, another mistake, there's a very severe possibility you're both going to get shot. Do you understand that? Yes.
Mesa, Arizona police responding to reports of a man pointing a gun out of a hotel window.
Hands up in the air! You do that again, we're shooting you. Do you understand? Please do not shoot me.
Officers descend on Shaver's hotel room where he'd been drinking with 2 other guests.
Your hands go back in the small of your back or down. We are going to shoot you. Do you understand me? Yes, sir. Crawl towards me. Crawl towards me! Yes, sir.
But then he appears to reach toward his waistband, and in that instant, Officer Philip Brailsford fires 5 times, killing the young father of 2. Now, nearly 2 years later,
not guilty.
A jury acquitting the officer of second-degree murder. Brailsford told investigators he thought Shaver was reaching for a weapon.
I perceived this as a threat. It was just a scary situation.
But Shaver had no gun on him. 2 pellet guns used for his pest control business were later found in his hotel room. Investigators said when he was shot, Shaver appeared to be trying to pull his shorts up as they were falling off.
He was executed. He was begging for his life, saying, please don't shoot me. It tore me apart how mean that they were to him.
Daniel Shaver's widow has filed a wrongful death suit against the city of Mesa. As for the officer, he says at that moment he was concerned for the safety of the officers and a woman in the hallway. David.
Lindsay Davis with us tonight. Thank you, Lindsay. And when we come back here, several shootings on the same. To the index of other news tonight, police stepping up patrols after a series of shootings on Detroit highways, I-94 and I-96. Authorities say 3 shootings early Thursday may be the work of the same gunman. One of 3 drivers targeted was shot in the leg and was seen on this surveillance limping into this gas station looking for help. A freight train derailment causing major rush hour headaches in New Jersey tonight. More than 20 cars toppling off the tracks in Union Township. Surrounding homes were evacuated. One New Jersey Transit line suspending service in both directions because of that crash. Authorities in Texas arresting Travis Lee Wilson, charging him with at least 1 drugstore robbery in which he allegedly impersonated a police officer. Houston police had been seeking a suspect posing as a cop in several robberies. Authorities say they recovered a fake badge and gun in his vehicle and several patches of fentanyl in his apartment. And there is news tonight on those hidden airline fees that outrage so many flyers in this country. Federal officials now dropping a pair of proposals, one that would require airlines to tell you about checked bag fees at the start of a ticket purchase rather than by the end of the sale. The other proposal being dropped would have forced airlines to disclose how much money they make through fees for extra services, including legroom. President Obama had proposed the rules to make fees more transparent. Federal officials now calling them, quote, of limited public benefit. When we come back on a Friday night amid so much heartbreak, the heroes, what we witnessed overnight. The evening hours here, and you can see that this is what teams throughout Ventura County have to do really every night now for multiple nights in a row as they come to these properties where they sense there are flare-ups or embers still burning. And sure enough, they came and checked this out and discovered that they had an issue. And with the Santa Ana winds overnight, that's the real concern, that the wind gusts will carry these embers into a property a mile or 2 from here. We were out with Ventura County Fire Captain Eric Lether and his team. Is this what you've had to do for several nights now?
Yeah. You know, our number 1 concern is taking care of the citizens, making sure we don't have any flare-ups with Santa Ana winds.
Because all you need is 1 flare-up and have those embers travel with the winds, right?
Especially with the wind. Yep.
The community turning to its firefighters.
Thank you so much.
Haley and Hannah Thompson, their home is okay, and they had that delivery for the firefighters.
Well, thank you very much.
We brought ham and cheese, turkey and cheese.
Ham and cheese, turkey and cheese?
And we had peanut butter and jelly, but there was no one.
So peanut butter and jelly was really popular? Yeah. These guys appreciate it.
Absolutely.
The girls putting a smile on their faces. The firefighters here helping every member of the family, rescuing the family pet. One of thousands of first responders across Southern California tonight, risking their lives to save so many others. And so we